Michigan's now fifth. Michigan's now fifth, having beaten Wisconsin and Michigan State in back-to-back weeks. It's Michigan's first road win against a ranked opponent since Lloyd Carr knocked off Brady Quinn's Notre Dame Fighting Irish in 2006. They were showing that video during the game on Fox. Joel Klatt is going to join us top of the third hour on this subject. So that's a big win for Michigan. LSU is sitting right in front of them. Alabama is atop at 8-0, and then undefeateds, Clemson, Notre Dame right behind. And then there's Central Florida sitting there at 10 as another undefeated. Texas, Georgia, Oklahoma, and Florida are in between Michigan and UCF as 6 through 9. And Georgia at 7 plays Florida at 9 this weekend. That's the marquee matchup on CBS coming up on Saturday. So you'll see that. And Alabama, LSU, and Michigan are off. Clemson takes on Florida State, and Notre Dame takes on Navy. Upset-minded individuals, no doubt, taking on 2 and 3. Now, the reason why I'm setting all this up is the following. So Michigan has been on a run. Chase Winovich, who is the long-haired pass rusher for the Michigan Wolverines, has been pointing out that it's revenge time. They're settling all family business like the end of The Godfather right now. And the only question is, will Penn State and Ohio State wind up on the old courthouse steps, if you will, like the end of The Godfather? Will they end up like on the massage table in Vegas? Will all family business get settled for Michigan? Let's say Michigan does, in fact, do that. That's a very tall order. Certainly winning in the horseshoe, despite Ohio State losing at Purdue. If you don't think Ohio State's not going to be all amped up and whatever ailed them in Purdue will not ail them then, and if you think what ailed Ohio State at Purdue is part and parcel of the fact that Nick Bosa decided to leave the team, and I heard that a lot over the last 24, 48 hours emanating from Big Ten circles, that Nick Bosa deciding this past week to say, I'm not coming back, and I'm leaving the team in order to get ready for my next level, shook them to their core to the point where, they gave up 28 to Purdue in the fourth quarter alone? If you think Ohio State's not going to be amped ready for that game and everything that ailed them and they couldn't get done right in Purdue on Saturday night, if you don't think those bolts will be tightened by the time the big game rolls around, you are out of your mind. So let's just say Michigan does all that. You know what they're going to have to do? Go to a Big Ten championship game and take on most likely Wisconsin again. Put a pin in that for a moment. Alabama takes on LSU at LSU when they come off their bye. LSU's on a bye too, so they're all rested and ready to go. Both teams will be ready to go in the Bayou. Alabama's last road game of the season, because they face Mississippi State, the Citadel, and the Iron Bowl will be in their house. So, what will Alabama have to do if Alabama runs the table? What will they get for that table running? A game against, with all due respect to the Gators, who will have to go between the hedges. An undefeated Alabama will have to take on Georgia in the SEC championship game. You see what I'm picking up? What I'm putting down is backing up my call for a year plus now of more playoff games that matter. Who the hell cares about a Big Ten championship game and an SEC championship game under these circumstances? Alabama lucked out last year not having to play in that game. Alabama should lose to LSU. I'm not saying they should purposely go into a game and tank it, but even if they lose to LSU, what's the big deal? They're bloodied up. They went out the rest of the way. And then let LSU go into the SEC championship game and take on Georgia or Florida. Let them try it out. What are they doing? Alabama should lose the game. Now, I know what that does is just set up all sorts of uncertainties, and that you win out, you play every game you win, you control your own destiny. But come on. What's the point of winning all out and then take on Georgia? Does every conference want to bloody up their best chance to send somebody to the national championship game or destroy a team's national championship hopes in a meaningless championship game? When these championship games all began to form for whatever monetary purposes they were formed for, the idea was maybe some Cinderella would get crowned, right? Some team that didn't do very well during the season or did well enough, but not good enough to maybe win it all outright during the regular season. If it was back in the day and everyone was thrown in the same mix to try and make a bowl game, that Cinderella would have a chance to knock off an opponent and then get into the national championship conversation. Those days are over, folks. Just because a team comes out of nowhere and wins a championship game and slays Goliath, that David's not getting a berth to the national championship dance of 4. That ain't happening. It would be compelling if you got an automatic berth to an 8-team conversation. Then those games would be really significant. And whoever won those games as an underdog would get a spot in the dance to keep going. Now you're just going to basically bloody up an opponent or destroy their chances? For what? Why would Michigan, after having curb stomped Wisconsin at home, have to put it all on the line against that opponent again? If they earned that spot by beating Michigan State, Penn State, Ohio State, and Wisconsin. Why? And why would Alabama, if they run the table and take on every SEC comer with the exception of Georgia, have to play Georgia? For what? For what? Because that's the crucible that they need to go through, an extra game that means 0? If they're undefeated and Georgia has 1 loss because Georgia couldn't go undefeated during the SEC championship, during the SEC regular season, they get a chance to knock off Alabama? Why? For a stupid game that means nothing except enriching people.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.